If you've ever driven through Arizona at night, you already know the desert doesn't feel empty. It feels like something is awake out there, watching you from just beyond the headlights. I never believed that until the night something started following our car, mile after mile, like it was waiting for us to stop. This happened in 2019, and to this day, we still don't know what it was. I lived in Flagstaff, Arizona, working night shifts at a warehouse. My friend Mark used to pick me up every night because my truck was basically dead. We drove the same route through a long, isolated stretch of Highway 89, where there were no houses, no gas stations, just endless desert. Nothing weird ever happened until that one night. It was around 2:40 a.m., a time when even the radio static feels louder. I remember Mark saying, "Dude, something feels off tonight. The desert looks darker than usual." He was right. The sky had no moon, and for some reason, the shadows seemed heavier. We were halfway through the empty highway when Mark suddenly leaned forward. "Do you see that?" he whispered. Not asked, whispered. I looked ahead and saw something standing in the headlights far down the road. At first, I thought it was a person, a tall, thin silhouette. But as we got closer, details didn't appear. It stayed just a shape. No face, no clothes, just a pitch-black figure, darker than the night around it. Mark slowed the car. "Don't slow down," I said immediately. He nodded and kept driving. As soon as our lights fully hit it, it stepped backward into the desert, like it had been waiting for us to get near. Not ran, not startled, just calmly stepped out of the road. We both stayed silent for the next few miles. Mark finally said, "Maybe a drunk guy?" But we both knew that wasn't true. A human is never that black, with edges that sharp. The second sighting. 10 minutes later, the car started making a clicking noise. Mark cursed. We had just gotten it repaired. "Man, we better not break down here," he muttered. As if the desert heard him, the engine coughed, jerked, then stabilized. I looked out my window. That's when I saw it. Walking in the desert, parallel to our car. The same shape, keeping pace with us, at the exact same speed. I felt my chest get tight. "Mark, don't look left," I said. He looked immediately and almost crashed the car. "What the is that?" It wasn't running. It wasn't struggling. It was just gliding, like its feet didn't touch the ground. And the worst part? Every time our headlights flickered from the rough road, the thing seemed to be closer, like it moved only when we weren't looking directly. Mark floored the gas. The car shot forward. The shape stayed behind, shrinking, fading, and then disappearing entirely. We didn't speak until we reached town. We both agreed to never take that highway again. But Arizona wasn't done with us. When it followed us home. 3 nights later, Mark called me around 3 a.m. His voice was shaking. "It's outside my apartment," he whispered. "That thing, it's outside." I thought he was having a panic attack. "Mark, slow down. What thing?" "The desert thing, the shape, it's here." He sounded like he was trying not to cry. "It's standing under the streetlight, but the light doesn't touch it. Bro, it's like the light bends around it." I grabbed my keys and rushed to his place. When I got there, he was standing at the window, pale and sweating, "It's gone now," he said, but the way he said it, it didn't sound like relief. It sounded like fear. Because if something can travel from a desert highway to a town, it means it knows where you live. The night marker. 2 days later, Mark didn't show up to pick me up after work. I tried calling him. No answer. I finally got a text from him. "Don't come. It wants me." I immediately drove to his apartment. He was sitting on the floor of his living room, shaking, pointing at the wall. "It's inside," he whispered. I didn't see anything, but he swore the shadows were moving, crawling, merging into a tall figure. Mark moved out of Arizona that same week. He refused to take Highway 89 ever again. And sometimes, late at night, he still messages me. "I saw the shadow again. It knows I'm awake. It followed me." I don't know what we saw. Skinwalker? Shadow person? Something older? All I know, Arizona deserts aren't empty. Some nights, something moves when the headlights flicker. And if it ever decides to follow you, you never stop looking over your shoulder. I didn't plan on going back. After the voicemail, after the breathing, after the man's whisper saying, "They're still in the walls," I wanted nothing to do with that house, or Arizona, or anything that reminded me of Redfield Lane. But fear does strange things to you. It eats at you. It makes you obsessed with answers you swore you didn't care about. 2 days after leaving the house, I drove to the Coconino County Sheriff's Office to request public records. Not because I was brave, but because I couldn't sleep without knowing the truth. The records clerk was a tired woman in her 50s, with glasses low on her nose and a stack of folders that looked older than the building. When I asked for anything related to 137 Redfield Lane, she stopped typing. "What year?" she asked. "Any year," I said. "All of them." She stared at me too long, like she was debating whether she should warn me or just let me ruin my own life. Finally, "There's a box in the back," she said. "Most people who rent that house end up requesting it." Most people? She returned carrying a dusty storage box labeled Red Lane Incidents, 1983 to 2018. My stomach dropped. I opened the lid. The first thing inside was a thick, yellowing police report dated July 1983. Case number 83-471. Primary complaint: unknown trespasser inside walls. Caller: truck driver passing through town. A truck driver? The report read, caller states he saw a man crawling along the side of the house around 2:10 a.m. when passing Redfield Lane. Subject appeared pale, extremely thin, and was observed entering the exterior wall near the second-story window. Entering the wall? I thought it was exaggeration, drunk driver, hallucination, anything. But then I found the second report. 1986, same description. 1990, same description. 1994, same description. Every one filed by a passing trucker. Different truckers, different years, same thing. A man with sunken eyes, wearing torn clothing, crawling into the house. The clerk must have noticed me shaking. "You okay?" she asked. I wasn't, because every drawing, every description, every note, it all matched the voice on the phone. The police record they should have sealed. The next file was from October 2006, the same year Evan Walker died inside the spare bedroom. Inside was a transcript of the responding officer's statement. Upon forced entry, walls and insulation were disturbed from the inside. Patterns indicated tearing or clawing. Victim had barricaded the bedroom door with dresser and tool chest. Victim was attempting to seal wall air vents with clothing. Another note. Victim found holding a cell phone. No outgoing calls recorded, but phone battery drained completely. Then a handwritten addition by a different officer. Victim said someone was crawling inside the walls. He claimed the person talked through the vents. I felt my chest tighten, because someone had talked through the vents to me too, just not in a voice I could place. Not until I found the audio CD at the bottom of the box. A faded label read, "Evan Walker, final 911 call, recovered." My blood went cold. I looked at the clerk. "Can I listen to this?" She hesitated. Most people regret it. But she slid over a cheap gray CD player anyway. I pressed play. Then Evan's voice, ragged, terrified. "He's back. He's crawling. Oh God, he's in the walls again. He's in the walls." A loud wood something. Then Evan screamed, "Stop texting me. You're not me. You're not." The call cut off right there. My hands were shaking so badly the CD case slipped off the table. But the worst part, the thing that made my body go cold, at the very end of the recording, right before the audio ended completely, there was a whisper. Not Evan's voice, a different voice, clear, close, male. It said, "You shouldn't be upstairs." The exact text message I received in that house. As I left the records office, a man approached me in the parking lot. Tall, early 60s, sunburnt, wearing a faded trucking company jacket. "You looking up Redfield Lane?" he asked. I didn't answer. He didn't need one. He continued anyway. "I saw him in 91. Same thing other truckers saw." He pointed 2 fingers to his eyes. Man climbing the outside of the 2nd floor, pale as the moon. Thought it was some drug addict until he went through the siding. He paused. Not into the window. Not into a door. He tapped the wall of the building. Through the wall. I felt nauseous. "What is it?" I whispered. He looked at me like I asked the dumbest question possible. "It's not a what," he said. "It's a who." I waited. What died in that house never stayed dead, and what lived in those walls never lived right. Before I could ask anything, he walked away. The final message. That night, back in my motel, I stared at my phone until my eyes blurred. I blocked the number, deleted the texts, powered the phone off. But at 2:17 a.m., same minute as the first message in part 1, my powered off phone lit up. A new message appeared. No number, no source, just a message. "You read my file." I dropped the phone. The next message arrived instantly. "You heard me." Then, "You left the house, but the house didn't leave you." Then, "Check your wall." The motel room wall made a soft, deliberate tap. Once, twice, 3 times. Slow, rhythmic, like something or someone was crawling inside. And that's when I realized the entity didn't haunt Redfield Lane. It followed the people who stayed there. And now it was following me. If you ever drive Highway 180 after midnight, and you see a pair of glowing yellow eyes staring at you from the road, don't stop. People who stop don't always come back. I work long-haul freight out of Holbrook, Arizona, mostly night routes. I've logged over 700,000 miles, slept in every truck stop in the Southwest, and seen enough weird things in the desert to fill a whole damn book. But nothing, and I mean nothing, ever rattled me like what happened on January 3rd, 2019, on Highway 180 near the Petrified Forest. Most drivers call that stretch the Dead Mile. If you look it up, you won't find much online. But talk to truckers at any diner between Flagstaff and Gallup, you'll hear stories. Lights, shadows, animals that aren't animals. People seen walking the shoulder, but never found. I always thought it was desert paranoia, sleep deprivation mixed with superstition, until the night it happened to me. It was 12:47 a.m. I was hauling auto parts north toward Colorado. Sky completely black, no moon, no cars, just 57 miles of empty road and desert silence. Then I saw them. 2 glowing yellow dots far ahead on the asphalt, as bright as LED flashlights. I slowed down automatically. For a second I thought it was a coyote standing in the middle of the road, eyes reflecting my headlights. Except these lights weren't reflecting anything. They were glowing on their own. And they weren't at animal height. They were 6 feet off the ground. My stomach tightened. I radioed in. Dispatch, got something unusual on 180. Looks like lights? Anyone else reported this? Static. Then a weird click, like someone else was on the line, but no response. When I looked forward again, the lights were gone. Not faded, not moved, just gone. 5 minutes later, something sprinted across the highway in front of my truck. Not walked, not jogged, sprinted. Too fast for a human, too tall for an animal. I hit the brakes so hard my trailer fishtailed. In the beam of my headlights, I saw it. A figure, long limbs, thin torso, pale skin, moving like it didn't have bones. No clothes, no hair, just wrong. Like a person whose body was designed by someone who had never seen a real human. It crossed the entire highway in less than a second. I sat frozen, gripping the wheel, trying to breathe. Then my CB radio crackled again. A voice, deep, dry, like sand blowing against metal, whispered, "Don't stop for it." I jerked so hard I hit my head on the window. "Who the hell is this?" I shouted. No answer, just static. 2 miles later, I saw a vehicle on the shoulder, an older white SUV with the driver's door wide open, hazards flashing, engine running. I slowed down. I shouldn't have. As I rolled past the SUV at maybe 10 miles per hour, I saw drag marks in the dirt leading away from the driver's side door. Human-sized drag marks, and beside them, bare footprints. Not normal footprints. These were long, too long. toes stretched forward like claws, like something was pulling itself upright by its toes. My throat dried instantly. I accelerated. About a mile ahead, the glowing yellow lights appeared again. Same height, same brightness. But this time, they were blurry, as if heat waves were distorting them. I squinted, and then they moved. Not toward me, not away, straight up, rising into the darkness like someone lifting two lanterns. That's when I realized they weren't lights. They were eyes. Far too big for any person, far too steady for an animal. They hovered in the air, watching me, calculating. I floored the truck. 20 seconds later, my dashboard lights flickered. My radio cut off. The truck interior went dead silent. Then the weight sensor on the passenger seat activated. The seat dipped slightly, like someone invisible had just sat down. I didn't turn my head. I couldn't. Every hair on my body stood straight up. The air felt cold, freezing cold, impossible cold in the Arizona desert. And then something breathed beside me, slow, wet, human-like, right next to my ear. My vision blurred. I gripped the wheel harder than I ever have in my life. The breathing stopped. Then a voice whispered, this time right inside the cab, inches from my face. You saw me. My entire body went numb. And then, just like that, the seat sensor turned off. The weight vanished. The cold disappeared. My headlights brightened. Dashboard came back. Radio restarted. But the road ahead was empty. Deputy Carla Henson opened an old steel cabinet inside the Coconino County Sheriff's Department. Most files were dusty, forgotten, but 7 reports were marked with the same handwritten note. Last seen near mile marker 191, described bright yellow eyes. The report spanned 3 decades, yet the descriptions were identical. 1987. A geology student vanished during a desert road trip. His last call? Something is watching my car in the dark. 1999. A newlywed couple disappeared. Their abandoned car had scratch marks, but no footprints around. 2014. A retired truck driver vanished after radioing a distress signal. Those eyes, they're on the road again. 2022. A teenage hitchhiker vanished. His GoPro footage ended with 2 small glowing dots rushing toward him. Different years, different people, same eyes, same stretch of highway. Several officers tried to investigate mile marker 191, but most refused to go back. One internal memo, never released to the public, stated, officers report a tall humanoid shape with reflective eyes, moves unnaturally fast. Responding officers advised not to engage. Another officer wrote in his incident log, I don't believe in monsters, but something crossed the road in front of my cruiser. It wasn't human. And then there was the dead-end official explanation. Case closed. Unknown animal. But the files told a different story. Officers' handwritten notes, circled words like mimicry, not an animal, keeps watching us. Don't look into the eyes. One officer resigned within 24 hours of his encounter. Another moved out of the state. Truckers who drive through that route call it the glass highway, because at night, the asphalt reflects light like a mirror, and something walks on it. Hundreds of trucker stories match. 1983. Hank Waller saw a thin figure crouching on the shoulder. He flashed his headlights. It stood up slowly, too slowly to be human. 1997. Maria Cortez. She saw eyes in the mirror, not behind the truck, not on the road, in the mirror. 2006. Vic Dalton. A figure ran beside his truck at 60 miles per hour. He retired the same year. 2021. Anonymous CB radio recording. A voice. Do not stop for it. If you see the eyes, just drive. The voice cut off with a scream and static. After years of scattered reports, one pattern emerged. The eyes are not glowing. They are reflecting, like a predator's eyes that shine when light hits them. Except, humans don't have that feature, and no desert animal matches the height, shape, or behavior. Desert biologists can't identify it. Tribal elders refuse to talk about it. But one Navajo ranger said only 7 words. That thing is older than the highway. And when asked if it's dangerous, it doesn't hunt. It waits. The highway was quiet the night Deputy Hayes returned to mile marker 247, the place where the glowing eyes were last reported. A cold wind whispered through the pines, the same way it had the night the first trucker vanished. He parked the cruiser and stepped out, shotgun in hand. Whatever you are, tonight it ends, he muttered. The ground beneath the asphalt was warm, too warm. Hayes knelt, pressed his palm on the road and felt faint vibrations, like something breathing. He radioed dispatch. Get a construction crew here. I want the ground opened up. Within an hour, a team arrived with hydraulic cutters. They cracked open a 12-foot section of the highway, and then the smell hit them. Rot. Human rot. Below the blacktop was a hollow cavity, and inside it, bones. Hundreds. Some old, some fresh. Some belonging to the truck drivers missing for decades. But worst of all, some skeletons had their jaws torn clean off, as if they had been silenced forever. Hayes's voice trembled. So, it drags them under the road. One of the workers whispered, No, I think it lives under the road. Before they could climb down, a soft crying echoed from the tunnel, a woman's voice. Help! Help me! Please! Hayes froze. He had heard that exact voice in the missing person report of Sandra Lewis, who vanished in 2004. But Sandra died a long time ago. The workers began backing away. Hayes whispered, It isn't calling for help. It's calling prey. The creature had learned the patterns of human suffering. It mimicked voices of people it had already devoured. It used those voices to lure more victims. Every voice it copied was a memory of its feeding. Hayes finally climbed down into the cavity. His flashlight flickered across something impossibly wrong. A network of organic tunnels, like a giant creature had burrowed through the earth, leaving behind rib-like structures. Then, he saw something moving at the far end, a large, hunched shape. Its skin was gray and full of cracks. Its limbs were too long, and its eyes, those glowing yellow eyes, just like the truckers described. It stared at Hayes without blinking. Hayes aimed his shotgun. You've been feeding under this road for 40 damn years. The creature tilted its head, then opened its mouth, not to roar, not to attack, but to speak in Sandra Lewis's voice. Please don't leave me. The same voice echoed from every direction inside the tunnel. Dozens of trapped voices, voices of the dead. Hayes fired. The boom shook the earth. The shot ripped into the creature's shoulder, but instead of blood, dust poured out. It wasn't alive in the normal sense. It was ancient. It was evolving. And worst of all, it wasn't alone. Dozens of glowing eyes lit up behind it. 4. How the creature chooses its next victim. Hayes realized the truth. It didn't choose victims at random. It hunted. People driving alone, at night, while exhausted, on quiet stretches of road, because those were the humans whose minds were easiest to mimic. If the creature whispered a voice you loved, you would stop. You would listen, and then you would never leave that road again. The pines grew silent again. Route 64 was closed the next morning, officially for sinkhole repairs. But the locals still avoid mile marker 247 after dark, because sometimes, when the wind is low, you can still hear a woman crying for help from somewhere under the road.